So how did I go from being a Division I athlete at the University of Houston, traveling all across this country domestically from competition to competition, being coached by the likes of Carl Lewis and Leroy Burrell, training and grinding with hopeful aspirations of one day becoming that Olympic athlete, to now transitioning from the Oval Office to the corporate office, where I actually find myself now going from being a professional athlete to a professional speaker and also corporate employee. How did I find myself transitioning so subtly into what seemingly was such a short span of time from being an athlete into a full-grown adult? In this time, I'm going to tell you guys the brief story about what caused me to go ahead and hang up the spikes. Without further ado, let's talk about it.
Money grow. Who really real? Tell me how you really feel. Keep it Uncle Phil. Do you kill like a Navy SEAL? Rolling off a pill, very trill. You ain't got a deal. Do you really steal? Rob the stove.
Is this thing on? It of course can't be on. It's literally not plugged into anything. I'm just using this literally just for effect. I'm not even gonna lie to you. But it's for the decor, okay? Let me do my thing, okay? It's been a minute. It's been a while since we did see me on this channel. I don't know why I'm waving this light. I'm so sorry. I apologize, okay? Please excuse me for my absence when it comes to engaging with the virtual audience for the channel associated with the JLou 314. But at this point, I'm a grown man that be paying bills and be going and clocking into work, okay? Life is different now, okay? And I am going to tell you all about the story and the journey of how we got here, okay? Not like a rock bottom kind of thing. Rock bottom was a few seasons ago, okay? We building, okay? You can only build once you get to rock bottom. But nonetheless, I gotta go ahead, I gotta let you guys know, for anybody that's new to the channel, allow me to introduce myself to you briefly, right? I'm Jermaine Holt, now in the corporate space, corporate employee, but also professional speaker, also pending consultant, just whenever I choose to decide to add that to my list of services, but that's neither here nor there. But aside from that, prior to me assuming any of these professional titles from a functional business perspective, I don't even know why I'm saying all these words, but my name is Jermaine Holt, and I was at the University of Houston as a track athlete at the Division I level, and boy, I tell you, that mess was fun. If you go through the list, now them videos is about 5 years old, 8 years old, but you can tell we was having some fun in college. I ain't even gonna lie to you. But the most valuable things that I got from the college journey was not just the memories, but it was the lessons. Now, to segue into that, I was athlete at the University of Houston, also had the privilege and the blessing of becoming a world record holder as well as national champion in the year of 2019. And obviously from that time, I got lessons, right? There's things that I learned. Now, at the age of 26, there are certain moments where I will look back at my collegiate journey and I will say these other words right here. If I knew back then what I knew now, life would be completely different. So let me go ahead and let you guys know what my objective is behind creating this content to help you with your student athlete success and aid in you building a foundational future. It's to prevent you from having to say the same thing, okay? I ain't gonna lie, it's a painful thing. It's a painful thing to experience certain regret, and literally because sometimes you don't know what you don't know. It's a very painful thing to know that the thing that limited you was not talent, but it was information, okay? So with that being said, let me go ahead and just make this as practical and plain as possible. I am here to be a time machine for you. I literally am going to journey back to your present moment from a future that you headed into, and I'm going to tell you everything that you need to know to maximize every moment that you have as an athlete. Does that make sense? Now, without further ado, I want you to be able to understand that I am talking to 3 different kind of individuals, okay? I'm talking to high schoolers. Now, these are the high schoolers that need to understand the collegiate terrain. They need to understand the recruiting process, how to navigate recruitment in today's time, because I ain't gonna lie, when there's the implementation of a transfer portal, recruiting is a lot more different, especially when coaches are now in a win-now mentality and they're investing less in developing, investing more in winning. I'm gonna talk to you about how to actually put yourself in the best position possible to set yourself up to build that foundational future. But I'm also gonna be talking to my collegians. Right now, my collegians, on the other hand, these are the ones that have 4 years, or you might have 3 years, or you might have 2 years, or you might only have 1 year. But my job is to literally give you what you need to ensure that your time as a collegiate athlete is literally maximized, that you leave no talent on the table and there is no potential that is left in that place. I don't want you to leave college empty, to say the least, and I'm gonna help you do that. Now, this is my last demographic of individuals right here. My people that know good and well that they about to graduate. Time is ticking, and you're still trying to ask yourself the question and get clear on what do I want to do and who am I outside of this. Now, the entire objective of this channel through a series of events, this one included, this one the introductory kind of for fun. I'm just letting you guys know who I am, what my objective is, and what to be on the lookout for within the next videos on this channel. Now, without further ado, I might as well go ahead and tell you guys a story about what caused me to hang up my spikes, okay? Because, as I said previously, I was an athlete at the University of Houston, competed at the Division I level, was blessed to be able to, on the 4x4 with the University of Houston, with a lot of help from Kamari Montgomery, Amir Latine, and Obi Abakwe, we broke a world record and we won nationals. And from then on, for about 2 more years, I ran post-collegiately, right? I had the aspirations to run professionally and go on to the Olympics. As you can see with me standing here, not an Olympian and no longer running, obviously we did not reach that goal. And I'm going to talk through some of that in some next videos, but today, I'm gonna just tell you why I hung up the spikes. What caused me to be so passionate and love this sport so much, yet walk away from it? The answer is pretty plain and simple. I'm gonna get right into it, okay? Here's the first reason. The first reason as to why I literally hung the spikes up is because being a collegiate athlete is far different from being a post-collegiate athlete. I ain't gonna lie, this is me. But I'm telling you, it is a completely different sport. It is a completely different athletic experience. Man, I'm telling you, when you have a nutrition station and a stipend and an itinerary that is always set up for you, people that are catering to you for your every need, life as an athlete is fun then. But see, when you go post-collegiate and you got to find your own means of providing and paying for your training and your travel and your meet entries, and you have to find an occupation that gives you income that is conducive or can coexist well with your training schedule, this becomes a completely different athletic experience. For me personally, I'm not even gonna lie, doing it for 2 years, it was fun, it was meaningful, very character developing. But it caused me to ask the question, in the midst of a changing circumstance, do I still want to do this? It's like, Jermaine, at the collegiate level, catering to you, everything's figured out for you, everything's clear cut and concise, less difficult, less complicated. Answer was yes. But as time would go on, and them bills started to rack up, and that struggle began to get realer and realer, that question became a little less certain. Now, am I saying that I just simply decided to throw in the towel? No. As a matter of fact, this is what happened, because the thing that would cause me to hang up the spikes in this moment was actually a friend. His friend's name was Quavel Jordan. It's his fault. I ain't gonna lie. The reason I'm no longer running as an athlete, because of Quavel Jordan. Quavel Jordan, he literally caused me to hang up the spikes. You wanna know what happened? We were in the same position, right? So at this point, we're both training post-collegiately. He's in Dallas. I'm in Houston. I'm actually transitioning to Louisiana to still train with my coach, Coach Clear. Now, first and foremost, shout out to Coach Clear, because this is not to discredit Carl or Coach Burrell. They were great coaches, had a great experience with them. But man, when I tell you that this individual, this man right here, taught me speed, he did not just train me, he taught me. Like, I literally can talk through how to become fast. Like, he gave me wisdom and information that if I was applying it in a different phase of life, my life would look completely different. I'm not even gonna lie to you. So shout out to Coach Clear. But I'm training, right? We grinding, and at this point, he's in Dallas, he's doing his thing. Now, mind you, my old boy Q, he's in a better position than me. On the stat sheet, this boy already runs 48 in the 400 hurdles. He's already gone to trials, right? So he's already kind of on the radar. He got something going with Track Smith a little bit. He's training with a professional group in Dallas, all right, with a pretty prolific and well-known coach. I'm like, he's in a good position. and he started asking questions. A question he asked, he said, hey, Jermaine, let's say we go to the Olympics. Let's say we get gold medals. Then what? Now for me, I was like, fam, if we go to the Olympics and get gold medals, or we get medals at all, that's a blessing. What are you talking about? Like, we gonna sign, right? We gonna cross the line, we gonna go over the brands, and we gonna ask them, where on the dotted line do I sign? You see what I'm saying? Like, we gonna cross the line, and then we gonna ask the people, where do I sign? That's the situation that we're gonna have on hand. And in the moment he said, Jermaine, we didn't watch people go to the Olympics and still not be signed. Like, we're literally hearing stories not to project somebody else's experience onto ourselves, but there is a pretty high probability that you can literally become an Olympian and still be struggling. And he said, I'm not even gonna lie to you. He said, but you and I, we share the same values, right? He said, we want to be Olympians, but we also want to be fathers. We want to be husbands. We want to be professionals, and we have things that we do outside of athletics at this point. We're starting to form new passions, different passions. And at this point, he literally asked me a question that, even though I tend to be the witty guy that always has a slick answer for everything, he asked me a question I did not have an answer to. He said, we make it, then what? After that, then what? And for the first time in my life, I asked myself a question I should have been asking myself in college. After you do it, then what? And because I did not have the answer to this question, I had to begin to actually evaluate. What will I do after this? What is going to take place after we accomplish the goal, after we reach the milestone? Like, what are we going to do? And I started to realize I did not have vision past this dream. Like, my only goal was to make it. I was not even focused on what would happen after or during. I simply just wanted to make it. And so my first red flag was the fact that I literally was lacking vision. That was the first thing. The second thing I began to notice about my athletic journey, while I'm training and I'm working and I'm grinding at this point, like Hugh, he working and he grinding, he going to practice, then he going to the factory. Whereas for me, I'm going to go work at Target, and then I'm going to go work out. I'm on my feet all day, working, slaving away, then slaving away again. Because after I literally would clock clean out of work. As soon as I get out of work, go to the track. Right after we leave the track, go straight to the weight room. And right after the weight room, go back to sleep, replenish, recover, and do it all over again. Well, that mess was a little bit insane, to say the least. Did not seem the most sustainable, is what I would say. And he literally began to cause me to ask questions in regards to, well, Jermaine, what do you really value? As I would evaluate what I valued, I started to find out that there's something that I value more than being an Olympian. Once again, I value being a father. I value being somebody's husband. I value being the leader of a household. And I overall value being impactful even outside of athletics. And so when I started to realize these things, the question started to go with, okay, what are you doing today that's in relation to that goal? I see what you're doing in relation to becoming an Olympian. But what are you doing to develop yourself for the desirable future of fatherhood? Right? And at this time, I ain't gonna lie to y'all, I hadn't thought about it too much. Right? I just kind of pushed that down the line, but I started to realize, well, at 25, this is the question you need to actually begin to have. So I started to find out that my value system would then determine that my direction needed to change. And this was the last thing. I felt like I was lacking vision. I felt like I was lacking aim. And once I felt like I was lacking vision and aim, even though I literally was moving a specific direction, I felt like I was moving towards something that had lost its meaning. And when I say that I felt like I was moving towards something that had lost its meaning, what really began to happen in my life was the fact that I started to find out that the why behind what I'm doing as an athlete is simply because I'd always been doing it. It's like, Jermaine, why are you continually training? Because I've been training ever since I was 4 years old. Why are you still an athlete? Because I've been an athlete ever since I was 4 years old. I've been running track ever since the 4th grade. I turned 9. I'm 25. That is a decade and a half of just working as a track athlete. I can't see life outside of athletics. I've never imagined my life without having to go to practice, without having to run around this red oval. And so, yes, for some odd reason for me, that switch wasn't really flipping. I was not necessarily thinking about and taking into careful consideration, what else can I do besides run? Because when you spend so much of your life, like I said, I've been an athlete since I was 4. I was competing ever since I was 4. I think that's the youngest you can start competing. Now I'm 25. It's been a decade and some it's been 2 decades and some change. It was really hard for me to see my life outside of athletics. And because I could not see my life outside of athletics, it was very hard to let go of being an athlete. But once again, when I started to find out that my only why is now because it's simply what I've always been doing, I began to recognize, Jermaine, this might be one of those moments where you got to know when to hold them and when to fold them. Okay? Now, if you still got a why, if you still got vision, I would encourage you to continue to pursue your dream. When that vision starts to get a little bit blurry and you start to become less clear on the reason as to why you're doing it, I would then encourage you to start to have some discernment. And this is information that's not necessarily going to be for where you're at. Right now, you're an athlete. But I'm saying, when you get to a certain point, this is for where you're going, because everybody's going to arrive at this point at a different time in a different season. And what I'm saying is, when you do get there, make sure you have in the back of your mind, what else am I going to be doing? Now, this was the last thing that happened. So at this point, I lack vision. I'm lacking aim. I done lost my why a little bit. So I got disciplined, but I don't have motivation. But this was the last thing that happened. Y'all see I got this microphone in my hand? Y'all remember how I told you I'm a professional speaker? This is what happened in my life. There was a moment where I got introduced. There was a moment where God would introduce me to something. Now, I was stuck on what I wanted to do. And then God introduced me to what I was born to do. It's a subtle difference, but it was very life-altering. This is what happened. So while I'm working and I'm training and I'm going to work and I'm training, there was times where I would also go on TikTok Live. And while I would go on TikTok Live, there were people that would interact with my content. There were people that say, I'm loving the content. You talk well. This is before I'm getting paid to go speak in places. This is just me just on Instagram, on TikTok Live, just talking to the people, pouring my heart out. Sidebar, the one thing that you can tell that you're born to do something when you can do it with excellence for free. I'm on TikTok Live. It's about 5 people on the live, but I am literally forehead sweating, throat getting scratchy, pouring my heart out to strangers with excellence, as if I'm in a room, as if I'm in a stadium full of people. Like I'm not literally sitting over preaching to my wall. And there was a man that would take notice. This man goes by the name of Jack Duffy. Jack Duffy don't even know that one decision that he made altered the direction of my life. His decision altered my direction. He would then contact me and we would have a conversation. And at this point, I have no idea how to do speaking engagements. I don't know what to do pre-engagement. I don't know what to do post-engagement. I have no idea how to navigate none of this. I don't know how to negotiate contracts. I don't even know how to ask what's in your budget. I don't know how to ask, how can I align or tailor my talk specifically to what your organization needs? I don't know how to have any of these conversations right now. Nonetheless, we have a conversation. He literally says, I want to bring you down to come talk at our junior college, Trinity Valley Community College. I want to bring you down to have a conversation with our kids. Obviously, with eagerness, but also very nerve-wracking. I said, okay, bet. So I decided I was like, okay, I'm gonna travel on down. I was like, at this time I'm in St. Louis. So I said, I'm gonna fly to Frisco, Texas, stay with my sister. And then he came and picked me up to bring me to Athens, Texas, about an hour away. And I would proceed to literally throughout the span of a day, talk on countless occasions. Talking to the different teams, softball team, basketball team, engaging. We would go to lunch, we would go to dinner. I'm talking to the staff, and I'm just continually just pouring out. And there was a moment that would literally, I'm telling you, this changed my life. This was the moment that literally changed my life. Because I had these personal sessions with different teams in different departments, and it was good. And then they said in the evening at 7, we're gonna open up the gymnasium. We're gonna open up the facility. And you're gonna have an engagement with the entire staff and student body. Anybody can come down, open door. And I'm sitting over like, oh, okay, never talked to that many people all at once, but let's do it. And there was a moment where Jack Duffy, in that gymnasium with all them kids and all them people, would introduce me. He would rattle off my accolades. Right? He would say who I am, what I've done. Right? He would announce accomplishments. He would tell him my name. And as I was hearing the introduction, I started to feel my heart. My heart was palpitating. Heart was beating more than the drums of liberation in One Piece. Do you understand me? I'm talking about my chest was beating more than Luffy do when before he turns into Joy Boy. Do you understand me? I'm nervous. Matter of fact, I'm not nervous. I'm scared. Right? I'm almost paralyzed with anxiety. Fear is literally creeping its way in my mind. And as this man is introducing me, I literally have a second mind to literally walk clean out the double doors and say, I'm sorry. I can't do that. I'm good. I'm sitting over, my chest is beating, my head is throbbing, my hands are sweaty, my legs are shaky, and I'm sitting over here, I'm scared. But I realized I was in a position where I was scared with no escape because he the one that drove me down here. So my only way getting home was through him, and that's gonna be a real awkward car ride if I just hide. But then I had this second thought where I was like, this feeling feels familiar. As I'm hearing the introduction and my legs are shaky, there's butterflies in my stomach. I said, this feel just like before we were in the 4x4 in Austin, Texas, back in 2019. I said, I'm feeling the same way I felt in high school at the state championship final in the 400. I said, I'm feeling the same feeling I used to get in junior college at regionals and nationals. I said, I'm getting the same feeling I would get when I would have my first race in the NCAA at the Division I level. I said, the same nerves. And I said, I understand that nerves is simply my body preparing to do something great. I just did not know that greatness could actually be found and done and overall performed outside of being an athlete. So as this man Jack Duffy would introduce me to the people and pass me the microphone, as soon as the microphone hit my hand, I felt this subtle voice in my mind. The mic would hit my hand and the subtle voice would say in my mind, you didn't found it. Now, this was during a time where I'm wrestling with the uncertainty of what am I supposed to be doing? Who am I outside of athletics? Where am I going? And as soon as the mic would hit my hand, a moment of clarity would literally then tell me, you found it. And in my head, I'm like, found what? Thing that you was born to do. And in that moment, I would proceed to face the fear, still anxious, because I knew if I'm going to do something great, sometimes you got to do it scared. And I would engage in this conversation with the student body. It was impactful. I felt a shift in the room. I felt people were encouraged. I felt people were inspired. And as I would have conversations with them after the presentation, and as I would still build meaningful connections that even lasted to this day, I could not help but to come to the conclusion something must have shifted in that room because the gift that God has given me was put to good use. And I said, Jermaine, it's very hard for you to experience something like that one time and say, I don't never want to do it again. So without further ado, from that moment on, when I was introduced to what I was born to do, it would move me away from what at that time I'd rather do. And I ain't gonna lie to y'all, I fought it for a second. Even after that moment of clarity, Even after that moment, I fought it. I was like, man, but I still want to be an athlete. I still want to be an Olympian. I still want to go pro. My journey has been left undone. I have not left the sport on my own terms. And I was introduced to a harsh reality that a majority of athletes do not get to leave the sport on their own terms. I was introduced to the reality that if you get to actually partake in your last competition, knowing that that's your last competition, that's a blessing in disguise. Because some of us are not afforded the luxury of knowing that this is my last time competing. I'm telling y'all, the last time I ran a 400 at the competitive level and ran a 200 at the competitive level, I was at the University of Houston. I would battle against Kamari, and then I would win my heat at 200, and I had no idea when I left the track that day that would be my last time putting on spikes and getting in blocks. I didn't know. But it made me realize that sometimes destiny is disruptive. In my life, destiny became extremely disruptive simply because whenever you're getting called out of something, you're being called to something. And sometimes this destiny is disruptive because you're not done with the thing that you're being called away from when you're being called to something. I would realize that sometimes you're going to have some unresolved emotions. You're going to have some reservations and some preferences that are still attached to a place that you're being taken away from or taken out of because you're being called to greater. And so the biggest thing that would cause me to hang up my spikes, simply put, I've been called to greater. Now, this is just my preliminary introduction into some of what you're going to be getting when we talk about the practical side of how to build your foundational future, how to best prepare yourself and set yourself up for success after life, after athletics, but also how to maximize your potential as an athlete. But I want you to be able to understand that everybody that's watching this, you're going to have the same moment. I'm saying you're going to have the same moment where you might experience a disruption in your athletic journey. But I want you to be able to understand that there's a very strong possibility that in the midst of that disruption, though you're disappointed, though you might be depressed for a second, though you might be sad, though you might have certain dreams that did not get realized, certain vision that you did not get to experience, I want you to be able to understand that even though that chapter of your life is closing, it's because you're being called to greater. I want you to understand that that chapter of your life would not close if there was not another chapter that is greater, that's going to cause you to go even beyond, that's going to cause you to go more beyond, that's been opened. So that's my time. Now, in closing, this is my last thing I'm going to say. Hey, y'all, make sure that when you watch this, talk to your boy. If you got questions about your athletic journey, if you're a high schooler and you're trying to figure out how to navigate this recruiting journey, how to put yourself in the best position to talk to coaches, to get to school, like even to how to actually integrate into a program, talk to me about it. I got you. I don't just give you opinions, I give you research. I study this. My collegians, how to maximize your talent and potential in the place that you currently are. I got you. Talk to your boy. Come to me with questions. I'm here to advocate for you. The entirety of this page, this channel, and my existence is literally going to be in this season of my life to service you and help you develop and become the person that you're supposed to do using the instrument of a sport. Now, lastly, for my collegian that is literally facing graduation, unclear on their next steps, not necessarily knowing what it is that they really want to do or who they really are, talk to your boy. My biggest objective for you is to help you become clear, because you're talking to a 26-year-old that is still becoming clear. So I'm going to walk with you through that. And I'm going to give you insight so that you don't have to learn some of the harsh lessons and experience as hard of a transition as your boy had to. You understand me? So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to put the best ways to contact me somewhere right here, but also it will be in the description. DM your boy, message your boy, comment to your boy. And I want to make sure that I tailor the content specifically to some of the questions that y'all have. Aside from that, this train gonna keep on rolling. So hang in there with your guy. I'm also gonna be doing some vlogs. This should really depict the life after athletics because it's still fun and it can still be fulfilling. Nonetheless, it's your boy J. Lou. 3 to the 1 to the 4. Oh, it's been a while since I done said that. And I'm outie 5 to the dowdy.